Thank you for listening to Life Improvement Radio. You are listening to a rebroadcast of a previously recorded show.
So I want to welcome to the program. I'm really excited to welcome award-winning author Jill McCorkle, author of Life After Life. Jill, thanks for coming by the studio.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Absolutely, Jill. And I tell you, we always ask every one of the authors because we really want to kind of commend the Miami Book Fair. We're putting together such a fantastic program, fantastic how they take care of, but I guess what you think of the Miami Book Fair, because we want people like Lisa Palais who put in so much time and effort, the university, everyone involved in getting this going, and the sponsors to really know that we really enjoy this, and I know that you enjoy it as well.
It is wonderful, and I have come several times in the past, and I'm just always amazed. It's it's just so well run, and they're so generous.
Oh, they are. The food spread's awesome. The first year I was here, you're broadcasting. I hope to broadcast for 30 or 40 years or more. So it's just so much fun. And talking to you guys, I think one thing, Jill, that makes it so the people that they give the honor of coming to the book fair, they're authors that are approachable. They're authors that are wanting to share. Because, again, there are some authors out there that don't want to share, don't want to be part of it, and they're not part of the fair, right, Jill? They're so, like when you guys get together, it's a big old family.
Absolutely. I mean, there are a lot of wonderful reunions that take place, and it's also such a wonderful community fair. There's so many volunteers participating, and you really leave feeling like you've really had a visit and gotten a true sense of this beautiful place.
All right, let's go right into specifically the book, Life After Life. And what gave you the inspiration to write this book?
The earliest ideas for this book came years ago, long before I was ready to write the book, when my dad was dying way too young. This was 20 years ago, and I was just struck by the moment and the way it definitely changed my life and the way I looked at the world. And I knew I wanted to write a novel about people's memories and those fragments that ultimately comprise what's left of an individual at the end of life. And so I just started collecting notes, and I've always had a lot of elderly relatives, and my mother now has Alzheimer's. So it's just an experience that has always kept me in and out of nursing facilities, and I've been struck by how you quickly find several things that break your heart, but if you really stay and visit, you also recognize that life continues for these people, and that there are still moments of joy, and there's certainly a lot of humor that goes on. And so I really wanted to write a book about old age and the inevitable moment of death, and yet to bring that humor and the joy to the front and center part of it. So anyway, long story short, I wanted a situation where readers would be drawn to both think of the losses in their own lives, but also to experience a kind of hilarity in just everyday life.
Joe, what was it like to do the preparation for this book? Did you interview your family or some folks that you saw that were in the similar situation of your father?
No, you know what? I have been in and out of places enough that I'm a compulsive note-taker as a writer, and so I just collect fragments all the time, waiting until I have a bigger block of time. And what I've found in my process is that having to wait for that bigger block of time has been really fruitful for the little snippets and ideas that I collect along the way, because it just keeps perking and growing, even as I have no idea where it will ultimately land. So the whole process has been like collecting pieces for a collage.
How has the book been received? Have you tried to how do I phrase this? Have you given some of the folks that might be in a home or in a retirement community a chance to read your book?
it's been very interesting because I have read at several facilities, and it's been greeted in a positive way. In fact, I had this wonderful reading where this couple had come. They were sitting on the front row, and they actually had walked down the street from their retirement facility. And the gentleman said, "Boy, did you nail us!"
That's great.
And of course, there's a kid in the novel. They're the younger people who are working there. I mean, I'm very interested in creating a kind of microcosm of life, always. But this is one with just extra emphasis on that last final stretch.
Very nice.
Well, and you know what's really interesting, Jill, with the end-of-life issues, and especially Alzheimer's and things like that, I've interviewed Lisa Gibbons twice. And what Lisa is doing on a national platform to bring awareness to end-of-life issues and different things like that, and how to deal with people who are losing their memory, I think that this is another key component of the book to kind of really bring awareness, right? Would you agree to those times of issues of growing old and understanding how life is in ways?
Absolutely, and it just has struck me again and again how we have this situation that is completely inevitable, and yet how people really don't want to venture close to it. So I even had people say to me, "Aren't you worried that are people going to want to read a novel, that features a hospice volunteer?" And, I just could not allow myself to worry about that, because I really did want to. This was the novel I wanted to read. I wanted a novel that really focuses on life, and how, if you're running a race, just because you can see the finish line doesn't mean you should stop running. In fact, you should probably give it all you got for the last stretch. And so I feel like a lot of these characters are doing just that, and some finding love in the least likely places, and some dealing with trauma and grievances that they should have dealt with 50 years before. So anyway, I just think that I wanted to really shine a spotlight that final stretch with the awareness that it's not over until that last breath.
Well, absolutely, Jill. And one other thing when we think about that is we have to really treat them with human respect and treat them with dignity. And a lot of times we treat them like children, and that's the wrong thing to do, because even if they don't remember what happened to them 5 minutes ago, it's still a human being. They still had to deal with pain or trauma throughout that.
Absolutely. And I was struck. I mean, we're used to seeing the portrait that is so poignant and sad. We've seen that often. But then at the other end, what we most often seen is more the kind of stereotypical joke made of someone with dementia. And I really wanted to come and stand right in the middle. Certainly my greatest hope was that these individuals are treated with the same respect, the respect they deserve. And so I worked real hard not to venture over into what could be comical at their expense.
I think that's the toughest part too, because a lot of people, when someone starts losing their faculties and goes down that road, they really, at least I've seen in my own family, they really do talk down to folks and treat them like children. And we always hear about the staff in these types of facilities. So it's nice and uplifting that you have a positive spin on it, and you interject humor into that to keep it lighthearted.
I have done my best, and certainly it's a realm. There's still a lot of work to be done, and the truth is, with this baby boomer generation, if you're fortunate enough to get to hang around a good long time, you're going to have to deal with it sooner or later on a personal level, and so I just think it's important, that we look to those going before us, and with the kind of respect deserved, and also with an eye to learn,
exactly,
and to learn who these people have been in their lives, their lives before this last stretch.
You're so right, and we're just not protecting them in so many ways, and we're not understanding. And I think we, in a way, have to really look at life in general, that there's going to be an end, and that we have to understand that, and through that process to understand how we take care of people from birth all the way up to death. And,
right.
and with dignity, and I'm going to commend you for writing this book, because, again, the people, like you said, well, what's going to happen to me talking about this? Well, I just tweeted you out, Jill, to Lisa Gibbons, and I hope you guys can connect, especially with the work she's doing with Alzheimer's, because ultimately, you're welcome. Because ultimately, it's something that out there that we have to really look at everyone, and that's one of the big passions as an educator. Is my ultimate goal is to educate people from birth all the way up to adulthood in all areas of life as a mission statement, and we forget about the elderly. We forget about people that are suffering in certain aspects, and we're not looking to take care of them. These issues have to come out. They definitely do. We can't ignore them.
Right. Well, and too, I've had a lot of readers come up to me with great surprise, because I don't want to do a spoiler alert, but there is a death that surprises in the novel, and I've had people pulling me aside, saying, what are you doing in there? But I think we're so conditioned to hear death and immediately jump to an end that is, negative and tragic, and obviously grief is a difficult thing, and loss is always hard, but it's also inevitable, and I do think that when you've got someone who has lived a long, strong life and sees it coming to an end and has the opportunity to say things and get things in order, I guess I do believe that there is such a thing as a good death, as opposed to those acts, of violence or tragic circumstance that takes people prematurely.
Again, we're talking to Jill McCorkle, author of Life After Life, on the Toll Education Network, powered by Life Improvement Radio Authors Corner, live from the Mind Book Fair. And Eric, I think that especially when you've dealt with end-of-life issues with your family, truly this is a book that speaks to you for sure.
Definitely. In the last 9 months or so, I've lost 4 elderly family members that were over the age of 80. So most of them were, well, all but one were at home. They weren't in a facility such as this, but the one that was in a facility, it was hard to see. And I can kind of relate with this story because it was a large facility with 300 plus elderly folks, and you really when you go to visit, you start to see just people shuffling along, going their day-to-day life, and the workers just kind of there. So it's really tough, and it's something you have to interject humor into and have a good time and enjoy it, and it's tough. It really is tough for any family, but especially someone there that has to live through it.
Absolutely, and these hospice volunteers and the people who devote themselves to the care, they're just angels. I can't praise enough those people in there, doing good work.
I have to agree. It's got to be a very incredibly difficult thing to do, to experience that type of loss day in and day out, and to be able to help and take care of those folks. So it's got to be pretty tough on them.
They're just selfless, and so generous. It's an area of life where I just was so struck by the generosity and the compassion. It's just uplifting, even though you're there dealing with, what is a sad, grieving situation. There's still just an enormous surge for humanity.
Absolutely. So, Jill, where can we find more information on you, purchase your book, and learn more about you?
Well, the book is out there. The paperback has just come out about 2 weeks ago, and I have a website.
Okay, fantastic. What's the website?
So JillMcCorkle.com, and it's linked to my publisher. So hopefully the book is out there on the shelves as we speak.
All right, well, fantastic. Great talking to you. Best of luck. Have a fun time at the Mind Book Fair, and I enjoyed chatting with you.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. You're listening to Author's Corner live from the Mind Book Fair, powered by Life Improvement Radio. We'll be back in just a moment.
Thank you for listening to Life Improvement Radio. The views expressed by show hosts or their guests are their own and shall not be construed in any way as advice from Life Improvement Radio. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our website. Personal perspectives expressed by the producers, writers, or editors will always be presented as such. Any rebroadcast or retransmission without the expressed written consent of Life Improvement Radio is strictly prohibited. Thanks for listening.